On January 3rd, 2025, a wiry old-timer claimed he had a BMW motorcycle. At first, I was skeptical, but it was a genuine BMW, and a surprisingly luxurious one at that, covered in all sorts of buttons. Under the tarp, I found an absolute beast. The old man said it was his brother's and had been sitting in his yard for years. After that, it was pushed into a shed for another 2 or 3 years. All told, it hadn't been ridden for the better part of a decade. He was moving south for retirement and wanted $10,000 for it, but we eventually settled on $6,500 plus 2 jars of local booze. And just like that, I hauled it home. This thing is incredibly heavy, nearly 800 pounds, but unfortunately, the key was lost during a move. So now, I have to try a more creative approach to get into it. Wish me luck. Well, I'll be damned. If you ever lose your keys, you know who to call for a rescue. With my amateur lock-picking skills, I could only get one side open. The other probably has half a broken key bit stuck inside. I was hoping to find some treasures in the rear case, since the people who bought these bikes back in the day weren't exactly your average Joes. But all I found was this thing. I have no idea what it's for, but I've got a feeling it doesn't belong to this bike. Here, I found a hidden button for the heated seat, and this hydraulic support strut confirms this bike is a high-spec model. The original battery was obviously toast. I hooked up a new power source, turned the key, and the dashboard lit up. The horn worked, so I thought all I needed was some fresh gas, and I'd have scored the deal of a lifetime for $6,500. I was grinning from ear to ear, but it wouldn't start. It would only make a single click. At first, I suspected my connection wasn't tight enough. Then I thought maybe the starter button was broken, but it really sounded like the starter motor was seized and couldn't turn over. This could be bad news. If the starter can't crank, it's usually one of two things. Either the starter itself is shot, or the engine is completely seized internally. And here I was, thinking I got such a great deal on this massive bike. It turns out, this beast is hiding a 4-cylinder engine. And it's mounted sideways. This particular design has a fatal flaw. It's prone to uneven wear, which causes it to burn oil. If I'd known it was this model before I bought it, I never would have spent $6,500. Now, I'm starting to feel a little regret. My beard's grown longer just thinking about it. Anyway, first things first. Let's get the fairings off and figure out exactly where the problem is. I'm just hoping it's the starter's own fault. But then again, this is German engineering. Even after sitting idle for so many years, you can still see the craftsmanship is superb. And it seems the bike came with a couple of indigenous residents, both frozen solid. It's a true intercontinental touring machine, so the fuel tank is massive. I only wanted to check the starter, but I've already had to take half the bike apart. I think I see the problem. There's a red wire on the starter terminal, and I'm pretty sure it's the culprit. The connector head has oxidized to a coppery green. The problem must be a bad connection, which means not enough current to turn the starter. I crimped on a new copper lug and reinstalled it, which was a real pain in this tight spot, then hooked up the power for a test. Yep, that was it. A tiny bit of oxidation on a small part caused me to dismantle half the bike. Yesterday, an oxidized wire made me take everything apart, so today, I'm checking the entire ignition system to avoid redoing this work later. This time, I'm being thorough. Sorry about this, but I've got to pull you out of it. I have a feeling this is the first time these spark plugs have ever been removed. They're even dual electrode. I'll pop them on the tester to check their condition. All 4 plugs aren't in great shape, but they should be usable for now. I put them back in the bike, and sure enough, we have a strong high-voltage spark. While I was at it, I ran a compression test on each cylinder. Each one is pushing over 10 bars of pressure. That's the strongest I've seen on any of these old bikes I've worked on. That's more than enough to tell me it's going to have some serious horsepower, so I can confirm the electrical system is solid. Next up, it's time to deal with this sorry-looking fuel tank. Luckily, it's plastic, so there's no rust inside. But this fuel pump assembly, I connected it to power, and sure enough, no response. So I resorted to my old trick, giving it a few strategic taps from side to side. Keep this little secret between us, don't tell anyone. For a pump that's been sitting dry for a long time, a good knock can often bring it back to life. And while I was in there, I discovered one of the most user-unfriendly designs I've ever seen. They actually put the air filter tines underneath the fuel tank. This means that for even a simple, minor service, you have to tear the bike apart just like this. Looking at it this way, this filter is most likely the original one, manufactured on December 19, 2005. Okay, the tank is full. The power is connected. Time to try starting it. Wish me luck. Now the bike won't take any throttle. I suspect the problem is still in the fuel system. We already revived the fuel pump, so the problem must be the injectors. But after taking them out, they don't look clogged. A quick power test confirms it. Nope, not the injectors. The fuel is spraying like crazy. So the problem isn't the fuel delivery, at least not the injectors. Man, this 6,500 deal is turning into a real chore. Nothing has gone smoothly. It's just been one roadblock after another. It starts, but only for a moment, and won't take any gas. After a while, it will start again. The problem isn't the fuel lines, and I've already cleared the ignition system. I'm positive there's no issue there. Then I carefully read the service manual and even used a professional BMW diagnostic tool on it, which told me absolutely nothing. Seriously? I think it might be some kind of phantom issue, one that's got both me and the bike completely stumped. Could it be something metaphysical? Trust me, the end of science is always metaphysics. By now I'm completely stumped, not sure what the problem is or what I'm looking for. A few days passed. Then I noticed that after the engine stalls on its own, this one particular hose gets really stiff. So I pulled it off. One end had fuel coming out, but the other end wasn't even passing air. This doesn't follow Newton's laws. I started spraying cleaner into it and found it was full of sludge. It seems to be clogged solid. It blew back in my face, but I think this is the problem right here. So I cleaned out the fuel line, put it back, and reinstalled the tank. I'm not certain this is the fix, but let's wish ourselves luck. See? What did I tell you? The end of science is always a bit of old-fashioned know-how. A single tiny clogged return line had me stumped for 4 or 5 days. Good thing I finally blasted it and forced it to reveal its secret. Now, let's get this thing put back together quickly and test out its other functions. If anything else acts up, I'll blast it too. Alright, the tires are inflated, the bike is fully assembled, and it's time for a test ride. Wish me luck. Even though this bike sat untouched for nearly 10 years, its performance and comfort are absolutely incredible. No joke. It looks like my 2 jars of local booze were a worthwhile investment. Wishing you all health and prosperity.